Welcome back to another video. It's a whole new year. I'm really excited to get jumping back into the groove, start working on pieces. And this week I'm starting off the new year with a really exciting piece of furniture. This one's definitely an antique. It has some age, it has some character, and it is covered in this really ugly faux wood finish. It's definitely seen some better years. There's a lot of little things that need to be tightened up, repaired, fixed, or even replaced altogether. You can see the finish is failing in multiple areas on the top. It's just this brushed on fake wood look that hopefully should strip away relatively easy. From the looks of it, everything from this little chest of drawers is 100% solid wood, which is a great start. There are definitely some age characteristics that will still be there in the end when I'm done. There's a little bit of cupping on some of the side panels. Again, it's solid wood. Wood can move with age. It's not a structural problem. I like to look at it as an age quirk, an age characteristic, something that makes it not just that general factory finished piece that you see in most places these days. There are several key features about this piece that I really do like. I like the hardware. It's simple but appropriate for the age of this piece. I like all the little keyhole covers. All of these are what appear to be working and functional locks. And I think if I'm able to strip away and remove a lot of this nasty finish, secure things back up, it's going to be a great piece at the end of the day. Follow along and let's see what we can achieve. When I'm removing the drawers, I can see that they are all dovetail, which is typical for a piece of this age. And I love when a piece like this has dovetail because typically I can either remove the nails or gently pry it open if I need to replace any of these drawer bottoms, which I do. You can see this one has a big crack and one of them has a giant hole cut out of it. Not to mention those drawer stops were digging into the wood on the bottom of this pretty bad. This is pretty typical, especially when you have these style drawer stops. They're completely metal and they're really, really harsh. I've had them on other pieces before. This one has an actual nail sticking up, which is even worse. But that's what's digging into the bottom of these drawers and damaging the wood. I will pry these out, remove them, and create some different style of drawer stops, something that's not going to be quite so damaging. You can see in here it's definitely dirty, but absolutely everything is made from a solid wood board. All of this is solid wood construction, including the backer board, which I'm gonna keep on. I love the character of these old backer boards, even if there's a little bit of wear on them. They add so much character to a piece. But I think it is gonna need to be stabilized a little bit. It's just a little tippy, a little rocky. I'll just take a look at all of the joints and make sure they're all nice and secured together. If I need to add a little bit more wood glue, I absolutely can. This trim board is being held on by a little piece of tape, and not very well at that. It is coming pretty loose. I might just try to remove this altogether while I am stripping. I think what happened was this top is cupping ever so slightly. It's really not too bad, and I think it'll be fine. Again, this is solid wood. There really isn't a whole lot I can do about that, but I think it'll be fine in the end. I'm gonna start by removing these old vintage handles, just setting them to the side so that I can clean them properly before reinstalling them. They just have a nut on the back. This is another indication of their age. A lot of older pieces had this style with this square nut at the back that just held everything in place. They're not my favorite because these do stick out quite a bit, but I want to keep these handles. Luckily, the way this drawer is constructed, the back of the drawer box is actually shorter than the other sides. That allows for this drawer bottom to slide out. All I have to do is pry up these nails, which can be a little tricky. This wood's pretty brittle. And I'm replacing it anyway, so if it breaks, that's not too big of a deal, as long as I keep the drawer box itself intact. While I'm deconstructing, I might as well remove the rest of this trim so that I can tack it back on properly. It's just held on by a couple of nails from underneath. And I can see where this top is gapping right here. I might be able to secure that further. We'll have to see. And out come these old drawer stops. They should just be nailed. Yep, just nailed in. This one's already missing right here. I'm gonna grab my rubber gloves, a chip brush that can be disposable, and start stripping the finish on this with a chemical stripper. I'll see how well it eats through the layers of finish, but since this is a solid wood piece, I have no problems taking my sander to it with a nice aggressive, abrasive 80 grit sandpaper. That should also help to eat through the finish. I just want to get that first couple of layers off, especially in the areas that might be a little bit more challenging to reach with my sanders. I let this sit on here for, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 minutes, and I am going to scrape this. If I need to do a second coat, I will after I scrape it. This is just to eat through that first layer. Yeah, there's still a lot left behind. It's always a little bit of a gamble how each finish is going to react to not only chemical stripper, but sanding in general. Different finishes can gum up a sandpaper, and it's just such a challenge to sand, whereas others are really easily sandable and come off pretty well. But like I said before, I just really want to get this first coat off. I know that I wasn't able to get all of this off with the stripper. I'm just gonna handle the rest with my sander. But before I do that, I do wanna use some afterwash. This does help it dry out significantly, as well as it stops the process of the chemical stripper, kind of neutralizes it, just cleans it up a little bit. And it does help to remove a little bit more of that finish. I'm wanting to be so gentle with these drawers. I am gonna sand the insides and the outside, so it's okay if a little bit of this gets on it, but because I took those drawer bottoms out, they're a little bit more flimsy. I just don't wanna break any of those dovetails by being too rough with them. I know this still looks like a hot mess. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the sun to help the process of it drying a little bit faster.
Coffee's ready if you have some. Breakfast should be finished soon. The paper caution tomorrow. Looks like rain the whole day through. Morning left us both defeated. The mailman left another bill. The hallway closet's overflowing. With all those shoes too big to fill. So what's that song you used to sing me?
I do want to really carefully and gently remove these brass plates. If I can get them off, they will come much cleaner, much easier with the hardware when I go ahead and take care of that. Plus, then I don't have to worry about trying to sand around them. I just absolutely do not want to lose these two little tiny nails. So I'm going to put everything in a cup off to the side. It's the next day and these drawers have dried out. They do look like a mess, but they should sand off pretty easily. I am going to start with an 80 grit, get the majority of the finish off, and then I will step up to a 120 and then a 220 at the end, just to make sure everything's smooth, make sure there's no sanding swirls, anything like that. I'm also going to sand all of the sides, both inside and out, as well as the drawer front and back. I want to make sure these are as clean as possible. The easiest way to do that is to sand it since they're all solid wood. And at the same time, I will look to see if there's any repairs that need to be made. If there's any splits or cracks in the wood that just need to be glued back up, if any of the joints are a little wiggly, I'll go ahead and shore those back up as well. While I have this flipped up on its side, I do want to remove these old metal foot pegs. They're pretty rusty and rough. Something like this will definitely scratch up someone's floor. I do want to replace them with something else, just something a little fresher, but they're really, really hammered in there and they go quite deep. This foot peg sticks in this leg about this far. So I will take them out and then I will probably have to get a dowel and plug this hole so that it's nice and solid again, so that I do have a good surface to hammer a new foot peg into. While I have the glue out, I might as well glue in these dowels into the holes in the legs. I want to make sure I have plenty of glue in there. And I did cut my dowels a little bit longer. I'll just cut them off with a flush cut saw afterwards, or even a Dremel would work. There's a lot of really stubborn paint and stain left over. I am doing a lot of hand sanding, a lot of detail sanding, and it's just really clinging in and really just clumping up my sander. I am gonna take a wire bristle brush and a little bit more of that after wash and just focus on the corners, the crevices, those harder to reach places, and see if I can't get up some more of this residue. It's really, really stubborn. It's typical latex paint that when you do try to sand it, it just clumps up and almost melts into the sandpaper. And the amount of sanding discs I have gone through just because the finish has basically made them unusable is quite a bit. The last area that needs that rough abrasive sanding to remove any residual finish is the top. This finish was really difficult to get off on the entire piece. Usually it comes off pretty easily either with sanding or chemical stripper. This one was a challenge for both, I have to be honest. But once it was all off and clean, it looked beautiful in its raw wood glory. The top was affixed to the actual body with some small nails straight through the top. They were probably covered with a wood filler previously, which I'm sure has all come out since then. So I wanted to make sure to drive those nails in a little bit further just so that I could reapply some fresh, natural colored wood putty to those nail hole areas just so that they blend in a little bit more seamlessly. While I have this wood putty out, I can also fill in any of those larger cracks or gaps in that solid wood on the top and on the sides. Again, just to make everything stain and finish a little bit more seamlessly. I did end up removing the trim pieces from all sides of the top just so that I could really secure the top down nice and firmly. A little bit of glue and a couple of pin nails, and these trim boards are back in place and ready to be stained. Before I go ahead and cut and install the new drawer bottoms that I want to use, I am going to rehydrate the inside of the drawer boxes, not the outside top that's going to get stained, just the inside. The wood's pretty dry, it's obviously old, and so it could do with a little bit of hydration. I like to use the Howard's Feed and Wax for something like this. It just creates a really nice finish while still protecting old wood, and I want to do it on all sides except, like I said before, the top. And I decided to do this step before installing the drawer bottoms because I want to line the drawer bottoms, but I don't want this wax to affect the adhesiveness of that. It just really brings the wood back to life. It's always such a transformation. I've got everything fully sanded down to raw wood, and now I can start doing the exciting part, the really good transformation part, where I start adding color back onto this piece. I am going to use a water-based stain today, mostly because I want it to be able to dry in time so that I can seal it and continue to tint it and just have that finished product today. This particular color is Special Walnut. It's just a nice medium toned brown. I would say that these water-based stains actually go on, if anything, a little bit lighter than the oil-based stains. It's definitely not a direct comparison in my opinion, but whatever color I do put on this today is not going to be the final product. In the end, I do want to really richen and deepen this out to bring it back closer to its original roots, the way it would have looked when it was first made. while I'm waiting for that water-based stain to dry, it really shouldn't take very long. I am gonna start the process of cleaning up that hardware. I will put it in a pot. I have a dedicated pot for hardware, otherwise it will get kind of nasty, so I would not suggest using your cooking pots for this. I put it in a pot with 50% water, 50% vinegar, and I will boil it on the stove for about 20 minutes. That'll help to loosen up any residual paint, lacquers, anything like that. And then I can give it a nice scrub, a nice cleaning with some Barkeeper's Friend. This just really helps to polish it up, bring any brass elements back to life, and clean any elements that are not brass, so that I can prep it for spray paint or like a rub and buff or something like that if they in fact are not brass all the way through. Maybe, for example, they're just brass coated. I'm gonna get ready to seal everything all up. I'm just gonna go in at first with just a plain clear coat. This is a satin top coat, water-based. I'm gonna spray it over all of the stained surfaces. And then once that dries, I will give it a really, really gentle scuff sand just to get rid of any little dust bunnies or raised grain that might have popped up. And then I will continue with my further color after that has dried. I'm gonna go ahead and cut my drawer box bottoms at this point. Measuring out the dimensions I need, I bought some 1/4-inch plywood and I'm gonna cut it to size using my table saw, making sure that I have nice square edges. That's gonna really help to ensure that these drawer boxes stay nice and square and ride smoothly in the drawer box cavities. I've got my drawer bottoms that have all been cut, and I also cut some drawer liner to size. I am going to install the drawer liner first and then put these drawer bottoms in the drawers themselves. I'm going to affix these new drawer bottoms the same way the old ones were held in, just using nails through the back. This will make it pretty easy to remove in the future if anyone needs to change out the drawer bottom again years down the road. I am wanting to spray the last couple coats of color with the drawers in. So in order to do that, I am going to at least slide them in. And I do want to add some glides to the bottom just so that the drawers are not dragging directly. And it will close up the gaps and make them a little bit more even all the way around. These plastic glides are so easy to replace. So if you find that you're missing any of them, it's a really easy swap out. And I haven't added those stops at the back yet, so it does slide further than I want it to, but I'll add those stops after. Now taking my clear coat, I am gonna add a little bit of this espresso, just a really, really dark brown paint. This is all water-based. I'm just gonna add a little bit to it just to tint it. A little bit really goes a long way, just in tinting, because I want to build a lot of light coats of color. I find that if you try to go too heavy all in one coat, it might get streaky. You're gonna get drips, runs, that kind of stuff. So the magic really happens with lots of lighter coats. The key and trick to spraying this tinted top coat to richen up and deepen up that stain color is to really go as evenly as possible. If you have too much overlapping or not enough overlapping, I find that it can look a little streaky, a little bare in some areas, or come out a little too dark in others. I also find it's easiest to spray with the drawers in. That way everything has even coverage, even coats across the top. All in all, I ended up spraying 4 coats of this. Again, it's just a very lightly tinted top coat, and so I want to build that color and that richness with coats and not trying to achieve that color all in 1 or 2 coats. I really want to make sure that it's as controllable as possible. That way you get the outcome that you actually want and not something that's either too dark or too light. With that finish line in sight, I'm now going to cut those stop blocks for the drawers so that they don't slide in more than I want them to. This can be a little bit tricky, but I find that it's easiest to install them on the back of the dresser cabinet behind the drawers, and that way it causes the least amount of damage. The hard part is being able to see, because you need to have that drawer in place to make sure you're installing these blocks in the proper location. With a little bit of wood glue and some pin nails, it holds it all in place. That way it slides in exactly where I want it to go. And with that original hardware going back into place, this piece is finally all wrapped up. Let's take a look back at what it looked like before. This fake wood finish was not doing it any favors. It's really, really difficult to achieve one of those faux wood finishes in a really convincing, realistic way, and this one was just chipping and peeling and failing altogether. It made it look a little dirty in my opinion, but I could see those glimpses of that solid oak wood underneath, and I knew it had great potential. It has some of that antique charm. It's not perfect by any means, but that's what gives it such unique character that you're not going to find anywhere else. So, without any further ado, let's take a look at this transformed piece. It went from a dirty looking, lighter fake wood finish to this rich, deep, dark brown. It's got the most beautiful, very subtle sheen in that top coat. That satin top coat just really lets the light play off of those slightly rounded edges. Even though these hardware were not completely brass everywhere, it was mostly just brass coated, I was able to shine them up and bring them back to life with a little bit of refinishing. I love the way they pop against that dark wood. After sanding out all of the old finish and leveling out some of those problem areas, I was able to get the sides mostly smooth, and I was able to get that top tacked back down so that it's much more flush and straight. Let me know what you think about this one. I think it's really special. please feel free to leave me a comment down below, like the video, and subscribe for all the future projects of this year.